Hello, I hope you're well. I'm Chris. This is Chris's Reading Corner. This is the Booktube Newbie Tag. I've got the questions written down. I'm going to try and not ramble too much, but I'm not promising. Why did I start this channel? I started this channel because I have a love of reading. I wanted to get involved with the community. I wanted to get book recommendations. I wanted to join in with Booktube events and just jump in two-footed and just enjoy the experience. What fun and unique things can you bring to Booktube? I feel like everyone is unique, so I'm me. I'm not like anybody else. Nobody else is like anybody else. So it's just, I'm just bringing myself, and if you like it, you'll stick around, and if you don't, then you won't. I won't be offended, thick skin, so cool if you... I'd rather you stay around, obviously, but no, nobody's forced. What are you most excited about starting your channel? Again, the community, book recommendations, getting involved with reading challenges or Booktube events, just jumping in, enjoying it. Why do you love reading? That's difficult, isn't it? I love reading because I just find it's great, and I've always loved reading. I say I've always loved reading. I did not fall out of love with reading. I just stopped reading for a while, and I'm like, why did I stop reading? Because of all the books I could have read by now. I kicked myself for. But I love reading. I loved reading as a young kid. I was always like reading Enid Blyton books and Goosebumps as well. And then just the escapism, the stories, the imagination. A film's good, but like they're reliant on how well they can create that film. Whereas your imagination, it's limitless. So yeah, it's just the escapism and the imagination that you can just totally just immerse yourself into the book. What book or series got you into reading? Well, as I've just alluded to, Goosebumps I was reading when I was younger. I also remember having Enid Blyton short story collection. I never really read, I'm not sure what they're called now, Secret 7 I think I want to say, and The Mysterious 5. I never really read them. I always had her short story collections. I remember having one, 13 O'Clock and Other Stories. That's one that stuck with me. Goosebumps was another big one because back in when I was growing up, it was a big thing that back then. I started reading the Harry Potters as well. I remember reading those, and then I think around that time I kind of fell off reading, and I genuinely don't know why now. Yeah. What questions would you ask your favourite author, booktubers? I always think people must have one book that they'd want you to read, and that's one thing I'd like to know. And where's the favourite place you like to read? I don't know. That's a tough one, but yeah, or just like favourite drink or things like that. Just nosy questions really, rather than what channel put my teeth back in. What challenges or hurdles do I have starting your channel? Biggest challenge I think for everyone is time. I'm doing this now about nearly 10:30 at night, so it's quite late, but I work full time, I study pretty much full time as well as having a son as well. It's not easy, but I want to make time for this, and it's something I want to do. So, and same with reading, I always make time for reading, so I'm going to make time for this as well. when did I start reading? Well, again, I started when I was younger, in primary school, reading, and then reading a lot of books back then. I remember reading like Richard Attenborough, a book, and I remember reading C.S. Lewis and things like that in school. But from then, I remember reading The Lord of the Rings, and then I kind of stopped for a while, and then I started again. I started studying, and I've got a son, and when he was a baby, I didn't want to. I was studying late most nights, to try and get my exams, and I'm back studying again to further my career. So I started reading like Terry Pratchett books then. So that's what kind of got me back into reading those. And then from then it continued. You can see the bookcase behind me is quite full of books. Fortunately, more unread than read, but that is something I'm working on at the minute. Stopping buying books and reading what's on my shelves, and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, so I'm picking that up. So that's what I'm kind of doing at the minute. Where do I like to read? Well, I've always got a book with me wherever I go, so, and I catch public transport, so that's a good opportunity to read, which I take, and I read at my desk at work, on my break. I read on the sofa, wherever I can, really, wherever I can, you know. Coffee shops is probably, I do like coffee shops and having a coffee and a read. That's a rarity. That's like a special occasion at the minute. With studying as well, if I've got time, quiet time to myself, I'm usually studying, but if I can sneak a coffee and have a read, then I do try to do that as well. What kind of books do you like to read? I find this is a hard question for me, because I wouldn't say there's a set genre that I wouldn't read. You know, I like non-fiction. I'm interested about World War II, so I like reading books about that. I like science, sci-fi. I like horror, crime, thriller. I've not really read romance, but then I'm not opposed to it either. You know, I like reading about like non-fiction again, like music stuff and things like that, you know, and true crime as well. Just there's all sorts, like there's sort of just interest in everything. I mean, you know, fantasy as well. I'm into fantasy. I like, you know, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, like I've said. You know, I've got a lot of books I haven't read, like I've got the Dune series I'd like to read, and I like Stephen King as well, and I'm working through his catalogue as well. So just willing to try anything. I think every book's worth reading it, and you know, if you don't like it, you don't finish it, and if you do like it, you finish it. So every book's worth giving at least a try to read. What does my book collection look like? Well, as I've said before, my book collection looks a lot more unread than read, which is, I want to get a book collection that's read. I know that's probably the wrong place to do it on Booktube when recommendations are flying left, right, and centre. But yeah, I want to be able to go to a bookshop and be like, yeah, that's what I'm reading now, nothing else, because these are new books and I get to read these straight away rather than thinking I can't read them because I've got these unread books on my shelf. But at least reduced from what it is now anyway. So yeah, so I'm just going to quickly show what I'm reading at the minute. As I think I'd say it's quite mixed, really. It's not really like, oh yeah, you read a set genre. So I'm currently reading You Get So Alone at Times It Just Makes Sense by Charles Bukowski. I like reading poetry, but I've not really delved into many poets. Bukowski, Ginsberg, Kerouac currently. I mean, I would like to read more again, you know. Also, I like graphic novels and comic books, and I'm reading The Iron Quince by Alan Moore. this is a library one, so I've nearly finished it. I've only got a few pages left, so I'll finish this tonight. I'm enjoying that. And then I'm also, well, I'm currently reading this, The Essential Chomsky. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right or not. This looks interesting. I've read the introduction so far. I'm going to read some more once I finish the Aaron Quince. So I'm not sure about whether it looks interesting, but I'm not sure if a lot of it will go over my head, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. And then this is my next book I'm going to start reading, which is The Return of Tarzan. Now, as well as reading, I also like music as well. I just think I'm just going to throw that in. So I probably will, like, throughout the channel, show a few vinyl off. I'm not doing this very well. That's Foray. It's Hard to Have Hope. This is an album I've been playing a lot recently. It's probably what I'll put on when I start reading. And I also want to mention any films I'm watching as well. I just think, you know, so I'm planning on watching before the end of the month. I've got a couple of films here again. I've got Rum Diary by Johnny Depp, which is a book by Hunter S. Thompson. So I want to watch this because I've read the book, and I thought I've seen it for £1, so I picked it up and thought, well, I'll watch it. So I'm going to watch this by the end of the month. Again, I said I like comic books. I read The Killing Joke this month as well, so I watched this film as well this month. So that's 2 films I want to watch. I also like anime and manga as well, and I've got an anime, so I'm not quite sure how you pronounce this. I'll probably butcher it. Shiguria Death Frenzy. So I'm not saying I'll finish this month, but I definitely fancy starting it to see how I get on with it anyway. But yeah, that's my Booktube Newbie Tag. I'll probably be back with a weekend reads or something like that, and then probably a February wrap up and a March TBR. I did say it was March Mystery Madness. I've got a few crime books I fancy reading. I think it's the 9th year, and they mentioned something about 9, so I'm thinking of 9 crime books for my March Mystery Madness rather than getting new books in. Read 9 that are on my shelf, so I've got a few in mind for that, but again, I'm going to do a video for my March TBR. But anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.